hi. So whenever we run this command, you will see that the range is actually, so you will see that hi has been printed 3 times, okay? So next, 1 second. Yeah, so over here, you can see we can use I as an index to access the values from the list, okay? So suppose we have a list of numbers that says 5, 32, 26, okay? So there are like 3 values and the indexes are 0, 1, and 2. So what we will do is for I in range 3, we will print numbers of I. So what does that mean? So basically, we are iterating over all the items that are in the numbers. Okay, so as you can see, first we have I equals to 0. It prints 5 because that is the first, that is the 0 index or the first value. And then we repeat it again, and then what we have is at that time, the value of I becomes 1 and we print 32 over here. Okay. Next, we continue for the third time. We see that we have the second index over here, and then that prints out 26. Okay. That is how it goes on repeatedly. And after we are done, after all the numbers are after all the items are printed out from the numbers, the loop will terminate. Okay. So how we now we so far we have used range with loops with a single list. Okay. Now what we will be doing is basically learning about how we can use multiple lists with loops. Okay. So for that purpose, um, let's say this example. Suppose we have the number of balls over here, 40, 100, 180, 260, and the sizes are 12, 33, 40, and 8. Okay. So now, what we can see here is that for I in range 4, so it will be like repeated 4 times. So it's like from 0 to till 3. What we are doing over here is like we're giving circle, bolts of I, and sizes of I. So you remember, I hope you guys remember the function circle. So it's basically used for, it's basically used for drawing the circles, and these are the parameters. So these values would be taken in, okay? So first it would be 40, okay, for balls of I, and then again balls of I, and then again sizes of I. So over here you can see if we draw the index with their corresponding value. So for 0, we have here 40. For 1, we have here 100. For 2, we have 180. For 3, we have 260. Okay. And over here, you can see for the sizes, index is 12. Okay. For 1, we have 33. For 40, we have 8. And for 3, sorry, for 2, we have 40. And for 3, we have 8. All right. Next. Okay. So just give me a second. Before we move on to the quick question, just feel free to ask if you guys have any questions or not. Well, I assume there aren't any questions. So this is the, okay, is I just a value? So I is basically a temporary variable. I would say, so I wouldn't say it's a variable. It's like something that we are actually, yeah, it is a variable temporarily. So we are actually using that I to iterate over the list. So first of all, what we do is we, in a list, we have, suppose we have 3 values. So we go over the first value. So at that time, the value of I would be that first value. And then after one repetition is done, I will be switched to the next item that is in the list. At that time, the value of I would be that next item. And with that value, we will be completing another repetition of the loop. And then it goes on and goes on unless until the values are all finished up inside the list. Does that make it clear, Amin? All right. So now it's time for the quick questions. So the poll will be coming up into your screen. So make sure that you guys put down your answers real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna end the poll and share the results. I'm gonna discuss the answer as well. So many of you guys have put on the correct answer. That's good. So the answer would be option A, which is 9. So let me go over why it's option A 9, because over here you can see list underscore 1 has the values 1, 3, and 2. Okay, list underscore 2 has the values 0, 1, and 2. So we have a result of, and we have an integer variable named result, which has been initialized to 0. All right. So now what we are doing is we're looping over it. Okay. So for I in range 3, so it's going to be like repeated 3 times. Okay, result is equals to result plus list underscore 1 of I. So what it mainly portrays is that first, at the beginning, the value of result is 0, and then 0 plus the first index of list underscore 1. So the 0 index of list underscore 1, which is basically the first value. So 0 plus 1, it's going to be 1. Okay, and then what we're doing is the value of result is now 1 over here. Okay, now this will be added with list underscore 2 of I, which is basically the first value or the 0 index. So it is 1 plus 0, that is 1. Now we go for another repetition. So our first repetition is done. So now in the second repetition, we have the value of result, that is 1, and then we add the first index or the second value. So 1 plus 3, that's 4. Okay. 4, now the value of result has been updated to 4. So result plus equals to list underscore 2 of I, which is basically 1 over here. So 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so now our second repetition is done. Now we are going for the third repetition. Over here, you can see the value of result is 5. So 5 plus equals to 5 plus list underscore 1 of 2. So what is going to be 2? Which is going to be mainly the third value. And the third value over here is 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay. And then what we can be doing here is that 2, so it's 7, and then 7 plus 2 again, which is the second, which is the third value or the second index, so it's eventually 9. So since we are done with iterating over all the elements inside of the list, now we can print our result, which is 9, finally. Okay. Um, the links. Okay, next, how we can use, okay, let me switch to present mode. Okay, so using length of list for range, okay? So we can use the length of a list and range function, okay, to make sure we go through each value in the list. So this is useful for a list that change in size over time. So what does that mean is that suppose we have x underscore pause, which is 20, 100, 5, and 60, okay? Now, in order to find out what is the length of this list, we can use the len function that we've learned from the previous session. So n equals to len of x underscore pose, which is len of the list. And we can see there are 4 elements, so that the length of the list is 4. Now, for I in range n, so what does n mean over here? N means 4 because we have found out that that is the length, okay? Now what we are doing here is that for I in range 4, circle would be x underscore pos of I, comma 20, comma 50. So what's going on over here is that so we are taking there are, as you can see, there are 4 values, right? So first we are taking 20 to be the first value over here, and then so this is the x value, this is the y value, and that's the diameter 50. And then in the next iteration, that is going to be we are going to take 100, and then it's going to the x value is 100, the y value is 20, and the diameter will be 50. And then for the third repetition, we're going to go with 5 over here, 5, 20, 50. So there will be eventually 4 circles because we are running this loop for 4 times, okay? We're running this loop for 4 times because we know that the value of n is 4, okay? So that's how we are going to proceed. Um, okay, so let's go back to our example that we were discussing quite some time ago. So over here, as you can see, what we have here is colors, a list of colors that is red, green, orange, and blue. All right. And we have a list of y values that are 50, oh, sorry, 50, 220, 350, and 410. Okay, so these are the values of y, which are vertically over here. So for I in range 4, so for 4 times, fill underscore style would be colors of I. Okay, so what we are doing is we are giving the fill style. Okay, to which shape are we actually giving the fill style, right? Because we usually give the fill style to a particular shape, whether it's a rectangle or a circle, right? So we've learned about 2 functions so far. One of them is the rect and the other one is the circle. So we are using the rect function over here. So we give the parameters. The first is 0, and then y underscore list of I. So that is first we are taking 50, and that is the reason this and 50, and then mouse underscore x and 30. So mouse underscore x, that is mainly used for dragging this rectangle from the left to the right, okay, as you can see on the screen over here. And then what we are doing over here is that y underscore list of I, as in the previous examples that you guys have seen, we are actually using the sequential values from the list. So first over here, we will be using 50. So 0, 50, mouse underscore x, and 30. And the first color would be red because that is what in the 0 index. That is why this bar, the first bar, is red, and this value is 50 in the y-axis. Next, what we have is 220 for the list y underscore list of I. That will be 220, and the color would be green. That is why you can see that this bar is green color, and the value of y over here is 220. All right. Next we have is 350. Okay. So y underscore list of I would be this value 350. It's going to be orange, so it corresponds to this value over here. And then at last we have blue at 410. So this is the Y value at 410, and we have the blue bar. All right. And so far in the examples that we have seen, you can see that in the list, what we are doing is suppose when we are actually creating more than one shape, we are using the items from the list. We are trying to utilize all the items from the list, just to make sure that we are having a variety of options available. Okay, so we have our first exercise over here. It's quite similar to what we have learned so far. So the question is make three circles, which will with that move to the right with two list and a for loop. Okay, so it will have x underscore list and it will have a y underscore list. Okay, so you can use the WASD keys to make the circles move left or right. Okay, so try this exercise. I'm gonna give you guys around I think 15 minutes to work on this exercise, and then yeah, and then we will try to make. And if you guys are, you can actually discuss the exercise with your mentors as well in the breakout rooms. And after coming back, I'll be discussing that answer as well. All right, guys. So I'll just start going over this exercise right now. So there are a few important things that we haven't discussed. One of them is like how we do use the WASD thing, how you're using the keys. So let's just begin with our usual thing is first we use the setup. And before using setup, make sure that you guys run the import spark and percentage relate underscore ext spark. And then before you type in any word, any line, just use the percent ignite as part of the default condition. Okay, so we're gonna give it a size of 500, 500, and let's go for the draw function where we basically have a background color. Okay, so the background would be purple. Sorry. All right. Okay. So now what is the first thing that we gotta do? So we actually need to make okay. So first thing is let's create an x underscore list. Okay. So we will be creating it over here on top. X underscore list would be, let's go with 100, 200, 350. All right. Next, we will be going with y underscore list. That would be 300, 200, and 250. Okay. So now what we will be doing over here is in the draw function. So over here you can see there are three circles and they have the eyes. So let's actually, by coding, let's actually try to learn like how we can use the over here you can see that the eyes are moving as well as the circles are moving. Both of them are moving. Okay, left and right. Okay, so let's actually code along and let's try to learn like how we can use the keys. Okay, even though we're going to be learning it afterwards, but I still want to give you guys a quick head start about how we're going to use it. So let's create a variable called move off. So it's gonna be, we're gonna initialize it to 0, and the I of, we're gonna use it to 0. Okay, so over here for A, we will be using to move it to the left as per the instruction given in the slide, and for D we would be using to move it to the right. Okay, as per the instruction given to us. So the command that we type is keys underscore held. Okay, and it can be small letter a or capital letter A, doesn't matter. So the function that we will be using is keys underscore held. Okay, So this will actually make sure that which key we are holding. Okay. For that purpose, what we will be doing is move underscore off. It will be when we are actually, so the move will be basically we're trying to move the circle, right? So the circle will be moving in the opposite direction. So if we consider right, if you consider the right direction to be positive, the opposite direction should always be negative. The same goes when we are actually going vertically up or down. So when we're going vertically up, we count the numbers to be positive. When we're going vertically down, we count the numbers to be negative. Okay, so it's going to be -3. And then the next one we would be doing is underscore off. That will be let's say -8. Okay, for the eyes. And if if the keys underscore held is, if it is D, either small letter D or capital letter D, remember we will always be using double quotations for the time being over here. For move underscore off, it will be 3, and for I underscore off will be 8. Okay, so as you can see, like if you press D, it's gonna be like moving right. The movement of the circle would be 3 units. The movement of the eye will be like 8 units, because you can see like the size of the circle is more compared to the size of the eye. Okay, so now what we have to do is we have to create the shapes. So for I in range len of x underscore list. Okay, so we will be using the len function for x in range len underscore list. First, let us create the circle. Okay, for the circle, what we will do is we'll take the first value. So in order to take the first value, the parameter is x underscore list of I, and then we want to use the y coordinate to be the y value, so it's going to be I. The parameter that we will be using is 80. Okay, so that is the circle. So first we will be taking 100, and then second we will and then it will be, for the first iteration it will be 100, 380. Second iteration 200, 280. Third iteration 350, 250, 80. Okay, this is how it will proceed. Okay, so uh we have to give them a fill color as well. So for that, what we will do is fill underscore style. The style would be the style that we over here have is okay. So we will be using here the hex values. Okay, 100 comma 255 comma, oops, it wouldn't be a string. And the next thing would be 180. Okay. uh Next, what we have to do is we have to construct the eye. Okay, so for that purpose, so you can see the shapes of the eyes are like uh uh rectangular-ish. So as you can see, it's actually moving, right? So it's covering some units. So we have actually indicated the offset over here, that's like 3 when it's actually moving right, and for the circle and for the eye it's gonna be 8. Okay, so next what we have to do is we create a variable called left underscore I. Okay, and we will go over x underscore list of I minus 13. Okay, next, for the right eye, we also have to do the same thing as well, but it will be quite less, because here it's 8, and the I underscore y would be list of I squared minus 30. All right, for the next. Let's go off. Left underscore I. I hope you guys are able to see the screen. I underscore off. Okay. Next, I underscore I would be plus equals to I underscore off. Okay. Now, after we are done constructing the movements and the shape of the eye, now we have to give the eye a fill color. Okay. So for that, let's just create the shape. It's gonna be left underscore I, comma, x underscore I. Sorry, left underscore I, underscore x. So just give it underscore x. And we give this x. X. That's x. We also have here x. And then we have here underscore y. 5, next, we underscore direct. Also have to create the right eye. The right eye, you have to give underscore y, underscore x, comma, underscore y, comma, 5, comma, 25. Okay. And I think that is pretty much it. Let's see and try to run. Okay, so we have a tuple object has no attribute append. What a mistake that I've done over here. The second if statement. Okay, merge. Okay, hope that works right now. Just let's try running it again. Move off, not move off. Quite hurt to get. Oh, okay, got it. It's actually a small bug that I ran into. Supposed to work. Oh no. Okay, let me just restart it again. At the top, okay, so that should be changed to MOV as well. I think we did that mistake. Rather than that, I think everything else is fine. Should be running right now. Going again. I think we ran into a server problem for the time being. Let me just try to fix it up and share my screen again. Okay, we'll look back to this code after some time. In the meantime, I want to proceed with the other materials that we have for today. I'll be discussing it later on. Uh, just for the time being, let's just move on. Save time. I'll be going back to present menu. Just 1 second. Routine. Yeah. So all right. So let's talk about another type of loop that is basically while loop. So far we've learned about the for loop, which lets us iterate through a particular list. So now we will be learning about another type of loop that is the while loop. And just like the if statement, a while loop also checks if something is true, and it will repeat the code as long as it is true. So basically we can see that while loop is a conditional control loop. So it is going to repeat unless until that particular condition is satisfied. Okay, so let's take a look at the while loop analogy. Just we did just like the for loop analogy we did like the with the dentist example. So over here, a while loop is basically like eating the food off a plate. Okay, so start eating the food off your plate. That's the first thing you do, and then while there is still food on the plate, you take another spoonful, and once there is no food left, you put your dishes away. Okay, you don't know how many spoonfuls it takes to eat all your food, so you keep eating while food remains on your plate. So this makes while loop goes on as number of times as it is required, okay, for actually the code to finish. Okay, so it's not like for loop where you would be like giving a specific number of uh specific where you will be directly specifying how many times it will iterate through the loop. Okay, how many times it will iterate, okay, or how many times it will repeat that piece of code. Okay, so while loop is again, I'm telling it's a condition control loop, so as long as the condition is not satisfied, it will keep running and running. So how do we basically use the while loop? So for example, if we wanted to make a simple while loop that counts to 10, so we say I equals to 0. So while I is not equals to 0, we do is print I. So I plus equals to 1. So what does this mean? It means that it's going to be printing out the values of I as long as I is not equals to 10. Okay, so this loop will run as long as I is not equal to 10. So let's actually try to see this example over here. Um, so we have to give person ignite. Then what we do over here is I equals to 0, and then while I is not equals to 0, to get that command, we go with print of I, okay? Now I plus equals to 1. All right, let's what's going on. Okay, I think we have to put it inside the setup function, right? I'm still having some issues today with my. Oh, okay. Oh, come on. I'm doing a lot of typos today. Yeah. The setup thing. Okay, so as you can see, it's gonna be printing out from 0 till 9 as long as it becomes 10, it will terminate. The loop is gonna terminate and it will not run anymore. Okay, so you can see first I equals to 0, 0 is not equals to 10, so we print out 0 and we increment the value of I, it becomes 1, and 1 is not equals to 10, we print the value of I again. So and then we increment it to 2 and it continues as long as equals to 9. All right. So now, uh, let's move on and see. In this example, what would happen if we remove the line that said I plus equals to 1? So I is equals to 0 while I not equals to 10, print I. So imagine this was removed, okay? So what does our loop do now? Like, are we gonna expect something that so are we expecting what we want actually to expect? So well, that's actually the quick question for you guys. You should try it out, and uh, you have to make sure that let's try another example of a while loop. Which line of the code must be added to avoid creating an infinite loop? Okay, so you guys have to make sure that it's not an infinite loop, and it's a very easy thing. So make sure that you guys are putting in your answers that will on the poll that will be coming up on your screen right now, and it's fairly simple. So just put the answers quickly. All right, so for you guys, I've put in your answers in the poll. So the correct answer is mainly I plus equals to -5. So the reason why it is plus equals to -5 is because the value over here is -10. It's not 10. So if you actually keep on trying that, so suppose I would be I plus 1, okay? So 0, this will be like incremented. So it's like, it's 0, right? So every single time, if you keep on adding 1, it's not going to be helpful because it's never going to be equals to -10. And any of the above would never be the correct answer. So negative equals to 3 is, so you're going to be like trying to decrease 3. Okay, every single time. So from 0, it becomes -3, then -6, then -9. And one, so it's never going to be equals to -10. Okay. However, if you use -5, so first it's going to be from 0, it's going to be to -5, and then it's going to be to -10, and at that point it's going to be our condition is satisfied while I, when actually I becomes equals to -10. So at that time the loop terminates. All right. So moving on. Okay. Uh, Next, uh, let's actually compare how are while loops useful. So for loops will repeat as many times as you tell it. You do not need to know how many times it repeats. So we can actually specify the number of times the for loop is gonna run. And for repeating the code, for repeating code, and also if we're using multiple loops, we use both the loops. And in the while loop, it repeats until a condition is false. And you don't need to know how many times it repeats. Okay. So the main difference is in for loop, you specify the number of times the loop will repeat, and in while loop, it goes on as the condition is not satisfied. Okay. Okay. Let's get into more about how we can use the while loops. Suppose we have the value x equals to 50. So while x is less than mouse underscore x, so while 50 is less than mouse underscore x, so there would be a circle x comma 250 comma 10. Okay, x plus equals to 20. Okay, so as you can see, this is the output that's showing on the right side of the screen. Um, so this is actually an introduction. This is an introduction of how you can use this terminology in the next exercise that you guys have. It's quite simple, simpler than the first exercise. So I would suggest you guys to start working on this in the breakout room right now. And you guys will have around uh, 8 minutes to actually work on this exercise. So yeah, and feel free to actually discuss this with your mentor because it's fairly simple.